All right, yes. Day one of new bootcamp. So module one, we're starting with module one. And module one has two parts. So part one of module one is lab setup, and part two is introduction to SQL Server. We're going to go through the curriculum, and you see that shortly. So this is the disclaimer I like to give. When you're watching the videos, you're going to see this disclaimer as well, that I'm just giving you the skills, or I'm teaching you the skills rather, to become a SQL Server DBA. I'm not making any promises or guarantee of a job before, during, or after the training. Okay, so we are going to introduce ourselves. But before we do this, I want to go through these rules and then go through the curriculum. Then we'll come back to introduction. So, except otherwise stated, our class will start by 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We usually give 5 minutes for people to join in case they are running late or having technical issues. So that's number one ground rule that you must follow or obey. And number two is that you must participate in all the lab tasks. There are going to be multiple of them. You have to do them for your own sake because, like I said during the orientation, being a SQL Server DBA or any DBA is hands-on. It's technical. You cannot watch. You can't be a DBA by just watching the video. You need to watch, understand, and then practice. So there will be labs, there will be assignments, and then we usually wrap up the bootcamp with a capstone project. We're going to pick a date for the presentation. You have to participate with your team members and then present on that day. Also, I'm sure you all are aware that you had to make an initial payment before you are added. And then you have to complete the payment within 6 weeks, 6 weeks from today. So if you do not, you would be denied access to the class materials. And then this bootcamp, it's a professional bootcamp, so we respect each other. So we treat each other with respect, no abuse of any form. So treat others, respect them the way you want them to respect you. So no name calling or bullying or anything. And prior to today, I know we've been communicating through WhatsApp, and all that, but going forward, our modes of communication will be through Outlook and Microsoft Teams only, no WhatsApp. The reason why we're doing this is to make you guys get used to these enterprise software, because this is what is mostly used in companies. Outlook for sending emails and Microsoft Teams for chatting and doing some team collaboration project or task. So when you're used to that during the bootcamp, by the time you start working, it won't be strange to you. And then on this slide we have the curriculum, and this is how we're going to go through each module in the bootcamp. Sometimes, not very often, I might switch, but I don't anticipate that happening. You might have to swap some modules, but I don't anticipate that happening. So module one, like I said earlier, has two parts. Part one is to set up your lab, because the lab is the basis of everything you're going to be doing in the bootcamp. Without a lab, you might be lost because you're not going to be able to actively participate. And module two is part two of module one is introduction to Microsoft SQL Server, where you see what SQL Server looks like, and what the different icons on the interface, or how the interface looks like, how you can navigate that interface and all that. And module two, we talk about permissions, how you can grant permissions, revoke permissions, what the different kind of permissions you can give, and how you can plan for disaster recovery and also schedule or create maintenance tasks. In module 3, you go to high availability solutions, how you can create different high availability solutions for your databases depending on how critical they are, and the RTO, RPO, and the SLA of the company. Module 4, we talk about migration, how you can move data or the entire database around, either from on-prem to another on-prem server, or from on-prem to Azure, or from Azure to on-prem. We're going to talk about different migration techniques and tools that you can use. In module 5, we talk about the ad hoc task that the DBA does, ranging from patching. Patching is basically updating, then upgrading, then moving database files, and some other ad hoc tasks that are not commonly done. Module 6, we talk about database security, how you can secure the databases to be compliant with some sensitive data compliance, such as HIPAA, SOX, and some other stuff. You can ensure that unauthorized users do not have access to some sensitive information. We'll talk about transparent data encryption, dynamic data masking. You might delve into always encrypted and some other security solutions as well. In module 7, we'll talk about ETL, extract, transform, and load, ELT, extract, load, and transform. How we carry out these, the difference between them, what they are, the differences, and how we can do them. We may include SSIS. That's what is mostly used to, carry out these tasks, but not only some companies use other tools, but we may include SSIS just to show you the basic stuff, how to do basic ETL tasks using SSIS. And then we'll talk about PowerShell, which is mostly used for automating repetitive tasks, because most of our tasks as DBAs are repetitive, so you don't want to have to do that manually, and so you want to automate that. We're going to talk about how to automate them using PowerShell, which is a programming, we call it a scripting language. And module 8, talk about how we design databases for optimal performance. Here we're going to talk about normalization, denormalization. We'll talk about acidity in databases. We'll talk about different reads and the different isolation levels and how they affect the performance of our databases. Then we'll talk about querying, how to write T-SQL, another scripting language. That's actually the language with which we communicate with databases. So we'll learn how to write basic T-SQL, how to read data from a table, how to insert data into a table, delete data, truncate the table, and stuff like that. In module 9, we talk about performance tuning, because with time, the performance of our databases will decline due to some issues. So you have to troubleshoot, do RCA. RCA is root cause analysis, find out the cause and fix it using different tools and methodologies. Module 10 is not technical, so we're just going to talk about how to build your resume or create your resume, how to search for jobs, and how to prep for interview. So actually, this interview prep, even though it's at module 10, it starts from module 1, because each of these modules has typical interview questions. So there are interview questions they can ask you about, introduction to SQL Server, about permissions, about this. So we're going to talk about those questions as we go down. Then this module 10 interview prep is just going to be a recap of everything. And then we end the bootcamp with the capstone projects and presentation. So we usually have two teams, Team A and Team B. I'm going to divide you guys and make you guys collaborate and then come up with the presentation that you will give on a date that we all will pick. So this is the curriculum that we're going to follow. And so normally I expect that each of these modules should not take us more than a week, but some are very cumbersome. The likes of module, I think 8 and 9. Yeah, so it is not realistic to complete module 8 and 9 in a week. So those may extend to 2 and occasionally 3 weeks. So that's why we have 16 weeks. If we could complete everything in 1 week, then we'll probably just complete the bootcamp in 10 weeks, right? But some are pretty long, so, and I don't want you guys to be half-baked at the end of the bootcamp, so hence the longer duration of the bootcamp compared to others. All right, that's that. Okay, let's talk about this now. Yeah, for those who attended the orientation, we already talked about the spec for your PC, the minimum specification for your computer so that you can set up your lab. And this is the spec for the drive. I encourage you to have a solid state drive because this is faster than HDD. HDD will frustrate you, especially when you're doing something, because you are new to this. So you might be experiencing some issues and then you now add slowness to it. It could be very frustrating. So I recommend you get solid state drive, minimum size of 1 terabyte, because you don't want to have to run into insufficient storage and then thinking of buying another one or buying an external drive. It's better to just get 1 terabyte. That would take you for a long time before you think of buying another one. Then in terms of memory, 8 gigabyte of memory at the very least. It could be more, but nothing less than 8 gigabyte. Then your CPU should have 8 logical processors. If the type is Intel, I recommend nothing less than i5. But if it's not Intel, I'm not familiar with the other CPU type. I'm not familiar with that. I know there's AMD or something like that, but I don't know how strong they are. But I'm familiar with Intel, so nothing less than i5, i7, i9, even better. And the brands that I recommend, number one, I recommend Lenovo because that's what I use. But not everybody would get the Lenovo. You can also get Dell, HP. These are very good brands. Or any other brands apart from this one, but these are just my recommendations. I'm sure, after the orientation, a lot of people reached out to me about, what to buy another. I sent some links to people to choose from, so I can do the same for those who have not bought their computer. And if you already have a computer, you can check this spec on your computer to see if your computer meets the spec, so you don't have to buy another one. Or there's a way you can also, so if your computer has this memory at the very least, has this CPU at the very least, you don't need to buy, but it doesn't have this size, the storage size. You don't need to buy a new laptop. You can just buy an external hard drive, and that should be fine. You can buy 1 terabyte external hard drive and you'll be fine. But if your memory is less than this, you might think of upgrading it to this. Or if your CPU is less than this, you might think of upgrading it to this. But then I don't know how much that would cost you. So if it's any of these, I would just recommend getting a new one if you can afford it. But if it's just the drive, you can just buy an external drive and you would be fine. Okay, all right. So I'm going to